Swami Prem Vivek. My legal name is Manoj Das, and I live here in Edison, New Jersey, USA. And my job that gives me bread and butter is working in a technology consulting firm, or rather consulting firm, strategy consulting and BPO AMS firm worldwide called Accenture. And but where I'm more associated for the context of this meeting or event is that I'm an Osho disciple, and we have a meditation center here in Edison, New Jersey called Osho Amritam Meditation Center. And we've been running this meditation center for past 3+ years now. And we do a lot of meditation of different categories of some special events that are just for 1 or 2 hours to half a day, 1 day, 2 day, many group awareness meditation programs since the lockdown has happened. But that's what we do primarily a lot outside my business activities. So that's a quick introduction for myself, and we'll talk about this specific topic in a minute. But if I can ask, just for the sake of clarity, probably I'll just go by the names I see on the screen. So Jen, if you don't mind to introduce yourself.
Yes, good morning. My name is Jen. I live outside of Portland, Maine, and I don't know what else to say. I've known Swami Vivek here for a number of years, and I'm interested in Osho, and I love his work, and I just love meditating. So here I am.
Yeah, thank you, Jen. A special thanks to you because you were the one who introduced me to Zoom way back multiple years ago. Now you introduced me to Clubhouse. Looks like you're my technology inspiration. Yeah, she's the one who invited me to this technology. So thank you, Jen. May I ask my Indy for you to introduce?
Hey, good morning, everybody. So my name is Indy Ball. I have actually been deeply into meditation for about a year, and I love the Master Osho, and have had the opportunity to listen to hours and hours of discourses, and then been able to actually practically apply some of his wisdom into life, taking some of his meditation and discourse work into the marketplace. My profession, I'm a physician and medical director, so this whole topic of meditation, really de-stress, is a very interesting topic because in the world we are all very stressed, and we like to tell people how stressed we are. Ever since this meditation has come into my life in a very, very active way, I think it's truly been a blessing, and thanks to Swami Vivek and Jen and Brother, we have come a long ways on this journey. So welcome to the room.
Thank you, Mayindi. Thank you for supporting Osho's work, being a Sangha coordinator, you, Masamasati here, and many others. And thanks, Jen, for participating in all the meditation events that we conduct. With that, let me ask Masamasati, very close names. Masamasati, for you to introduce yourself.
Thank you, Swamiji. Nice to be here. Nice to be with all of you. My name is Anapia. I go by Masamasati, and I love Osho meditations. Since I discovered Osho meditations, my life has changed a little bit more good, and I feel like one of these wonderful techniques and the guidance the Master really do have. So it's wonderful to be here with all of you.
Yeah, thank you so much. I guess now it's time for us to start the conversation, and I'm going to try and see what I wrote as an agenda because we can probably use that as a guideline to follow along. And this is going to be more of a chit chat. So, let's just have a dialogue, whatever comes to us in a natural flow, and that way it'll be more interesting. So, a lot of people have this question they wrestle with is how do I manage stress? But before even we go to that question, how do I manage stress? Let's just talk a little bit about stress itself, and I think that will give clarity as we start forwarding our conversation further into this topic. So all of us know that stress is really a number one reason for a lot of disease that are happening in the world. People are stressed at work. People are stressed in their families. People are stressed before Corona because there was office work. People have to go hustle, bustle, work on all the things they need to complete, the checklist items they have, and so on and so forth. And people were stressed during Corona too, and the stress was that, what will happen if I get Corona? People were stressed because kids were now no longer going to school, and they have to take care of the kids, and both parents are at home, and they're both working. So how do you take care of your kids? So people are stressed because of that. People are stressed because of the fear, like I said. So the stress is everywhere, whether it is during the Corona time, outside the Corona time, whether it has been in the past, it will be in the future, it will always be there. The question is not the stress will go away in the sense of a situational causality. But if we try and understand this a little bit more deeper, then there will be a way for us to talk about how do we actually not really manage stress, because manage stress means you recognize stress will always be there, and then you are somehow going to evade that a little bit. That is not the message from the meditation perspective. So that's the revolutionary thing that we're going to talk today. So stress in a meditation perspective is really that you are wanting something else to happen, and something else is happening in the life. You wanted kids to be going to school so you can spend the time in your business and work activities, but now kids are at home and you have to deal with that. You wanted your boss to give you a raise and promotion and acknowledgement, and he doesn't, and you deserve it. You feel very strongly that you deserve it, and now that is going to create a stress. Now you're going to go to give a presentation to a larger audience, and deep inside you have a lot of fear, and now you have to present overcoming the fear, and you have to suppress the fear so you look like very confident one, and there is stress. So stress is something which is something is happening in the outside world, and you do not want that to happen. You want to control it, you want to overrule it, you want to have it in another particular way, and that is something that you're wrestling with, and that is what is causing the stress inside you in an energy sense. That's what the stress is about, and that's what is manifesting in our life. And in stress, because you're fighting, because you're wrestling, there's an exchange of energy fight that's happening inside you. And whether the whole world is affected or not, that is a different question. You are certainly affected, because inside you there is a huge amount of struggle, fight going on. And guess what? It was not created by the world, it was not created by the situation. It was created by your expectation as to what you wanted to have happen against what is really happening. And there will be more, we'll dive into this as to then, so what do I do about it? So that question we'll tackle as the conversation goes, but that's the fundamental of what really is stress. So I'm going to pause there and just get some dialogue going amongst the panel here, just to share, how does this open up anything in your life? Give us some examples of that you want to talk about stress that's happening in your life. Just make it more interactional. So anybody wants to chime in can do that.
Welcome, Annie.
Oh, Annie is here. Hey, Annie. All right. Anybody wants to just talk about, the stress they experience as a normal life, in a normal life?
So Swamiji, stress in normal life. we have so many hours in a day, and we end up overextending ourselves in various ways. And of course, as you mentioned, we can't control the outside world. And so what happens is all of these things end up coming into your day, and there's difficulty reconciling either time or resources or energy into these new things. And you touched on it a little bit. It's what do we do with some of these things that happen in reality in our lives? But I kind of have a touch with what you're saying, where that in and of itself objectively is, it's a thing, it's an entity, it's a happening. But the energy I create is so voluminous around that happening, and that ends up being more chaotic for me internally. Is that something that you were alluding to?
Yeah, absolutely. And thanks for leading with that example. And we'll just talk a little more about that. So something happened in our work, and we absolutely think that should not have happened, because that's the most ludicrous thing to happen. That's just most insane thing that should have happened. And because that has already happened, and I cannot go and really make it undo it or get it undone, inside me there's a feeling of giving punishment to somebody. This should not have happened. This person should have been punished. Of course, legally I cannot go and punish somebody physically or otherwise, but deep inside me there's a huge urge that this person should be really punished. And now you are not able to express that. Now you see what is happening that I was referring earlier. In a natural way, you are having a reaction inside you and me and everybody else that goes into the situation. But in an unnatural way, you are controlling it, because in the society we live, we cannot go and punish somebody. Well, then there's an energy conflict inside us, and it's fighting within ourselves. Like you said, it's a voluminous energy, and now that has to be controlled. So you need more power to control it than the energy itself. And now you're fighting within, really wrestling within yourself. Forget about the world, but inside you, inside me, we are wrestling really, really heavily and exchanging that war inside. And of course, where is it happening? Inside our body, inside our mind. And that's where all the firework that is happening inside us. And who's getting burnt? We are getting burnt. And that's why we get stressed. And all our adrenaline, all our hormones that need to get activated during our anger, frustration, suppression, all of them are getting activated, because body doesn't know whether you're really in a situation where you need to go and express it in the world, or it is inside you. It's the same. Body reacts to that situation of your feeling that is happening in your mind in terms of thoughts and feeling. And now your body is full of chemicals that aren't released, and that stress is going to now cause physical problem. It's going to cause emotional problem. It's going to cause mental issues. And a lot of people in the world have a challenge of mental issues that are probably started with such stress, and the day it goes beyond the tolerance level of the mind, of a particular type of mind, this is going to fail. Mind is a mechanism. It is a machine. There is a layer, there is a tolerance layer. Once we cross that, we are bound to become mad. And that's what is happening. So you're absolutely right. That voluminous energy that needs to be fought within yourself. In India, we call the Kurukshetra. Kurukshetra was a place where there was fight between Pandavas and Kauravas, and it is depicted in that scripture that talks about how big this fight was. Well, that fight is symbolic. Whether that has happened or not doesn't really matter. The point is, that is the type of fight that is happening within ourselves all the time. And guess what? The bloodshed, the destruction, that all is depicted there, it is happening nowhere outside in the world. But it is definitely happening in our psyche, and it's all the time in our life, normal life. And that's the clarity that we want when we talk about stress.
Can I just say that I can really relate to that? Like, battle, that internal battle of trying to control the energy that comes up. It's, for me, it's like this anger that I have, it feels like I shouldn't be feeling angry, and then I try to suppress it, and so I don't, what you were saying about that internal battle, I can really relate to that.
Yes. I think Annie is trying to come on. I figured out technology to allow her to come on here. Yeah. Go ahead, Annie.
No, I can talk.
Yeah, we can talk. We can hear you.
Oh, okay. Yeah, besides the word. Okay. Yeah, that's the stress. You see, I was in that meditation room. I saw you there, and then I suddenly come here, and I don't know where to go.
Yeah, this is for the first time we're doing it, so bound to be such we struggle. But welcome here,
Yeah.
and Jen, you're absolutely right. What is important to understand is that there is a phenomena. I think there is a type of bird, I guess, that when they face danger, I think it's called Suturmurg in Hindi, but there's a bird, when they face danger, they duck their head inside the sand, and they feel like, okay, the danger has gone away. Well, the danger has not gone away. Only thing has happened and is that you are not seeing the danger because you have closed your eyes or you have put your head inside the sand. So during our day, all the time, this internal conflict between what truly is happening and what we wish to happen, that struggle between those two phenomena is always and always and always happening. If I extend that a little bit more so that it becomes clearer, in the old days, when people were speaking in more poetic language, more in a language of symbolic examples, the epics that we have in scriptures and epics, all of them speak less in terms of historical evidence or facts. They speak more in reference to something in a symbolic way. So when the scriptures are saying this divine force, and there is a devilish force, whatever way scripture you pick up, whether you pick up the Hindu one and there's a naming of those force, or you pick up a Christian one or a Yehudi one, it doesn't really matter. There are always some names of devilish force and there's a force of goodness, and they are fighting, and they are fighting from time immemorial. In Hindu scriptures they say Devata and Asur, and they have been always fighting. Some days Devata or the gods are the winner, and other days the Asuras, the ones, the devil forces, are the winners. And it is a symbolic way to really say that inside us there is duality of energy. One energy wants to do something good and another energy wants to prevent it. Another energy wants to do something against what is happening. So this friction, this fight between those two energies that are happening inside us is a constant phenomena. Whether we are aware of that or not, it doesn't matter. The example that I was giving about the bird actually puts the head inside the sand thinking that nothing else is happening outside the world, is not real. So Jen, when you say I have seen this struggle quite a bit, that simply reflects that you are aware to the extent that you can actually see it. Many of us don't even see that. And we don't see that doesn't mean that it doesn't exist. It exists in all its grandeur and reality. It's just that we have not been able to turn our head towards it to see it. So, Jen, it's good that you see it.
It's there plenty, so.
You're not alone. You are certainly not alone, and don't feel like this is something that you are alone facing whole humankind. And just to elaborate that a little bit, why you are not alone. Every machine has its own function. Same way, our human bodies have specific function. Like Jen, our hands. they're meant to do something. You can grab something, you can lift something, you can draw something with it. Of course, you can't draw something with your head because the head is not meant for that, right? So each part of a body, each part of the machinery that we have a particular purpose to it. The purpose of the machinery called mind. Mind is also a faculty. Mind is also a sensing device. And that device is meant to have a duality. It is meant to give you bi-directional understanding. So good, bad thinking, evil and benevolent, however you want to call it. That is always going to be the nature of the expression of the energy passing through the mind. Same way, whenever energy passes through our heart, it is going to pass through as good feeling, bad feeling, indifferent feeling, but it is going to characterize it in one way or other in the spectrum from left to right, good to bad. That is the way they operate. So that is why we are so confident in saying you are not the only one, because you cannot be the only one that has human mind. If you have human mind and human heart, you are bound to have that experience. Whether you realize it or not, it really doesn't matter. The only way to supersede that, the only way to go beyond this is to go into a state of Buddhahood where you are beyond mind. That's the only way. So clearly, you are not alone. Every human being that is under the influence of the mind, and sane mind, conscious mind, people who are mad, they are also under that influence, but it has gone so bad that they lost a little bit of control that we have on ourselves. That also is gone because they fell below mind. We are within the tolerance zone of mind. Like, you have the sound capability that we have our ears, like 20 hertz to 20,000 hertz. Like, think about this way, that the people that are mad, they're below 20 hertz, right? They just got fallen below. And we are always traversing between the 20 to 20,000. But if you go beyond 20,000 in that example, then there's a state of Buddhahood, which is beyond mind. So you cannot be alone, Jen. Don't feel you're alone. Okay. So let's. I'm gonna go into the next thing that we have on this one. But can you hear me? Just to confirm that I'm still audible.
Yes,
Okay. Okay. So the next one I had said on the phone agenda. It says how we react. Well, it is consistent in a couple of different ways for all of us. Couple of broad different ways. First one is reaction methodology, right? So something happened, our child or kid said something, we are annoyed about it. We go to an office meeting and, well, let me take the other way around which is most likely the case. You got annoyed in something in the office work and your kid says something totally irrelevant to that topic and you just burst onto that kid and just express a certain way that, that anger, the frustration that you had is channeled. So that's a reaction channel. That's how we react. The other way is, of course, you had a meeting with your boss and it was a very unpleasant one. And because this person has a power and authority, you cannot really react that way that you could do to somebody in your family. Then you suppress. So those are only two ways. 99% of times we are suppressing because we live in a world where obviously we cannot go and just say and do things that we feel because it's coming through our heart and mind as a reaction. So we suppress. That's the most probable way that we live in the world. And that basically what it does, it kills us. All the poison that we had due to that voluminous energy that mind you talked about, that voluminous energy requires even more voluminous power to suppress it. There is no other way. You have to suppress it. And whatever you suppress is going to come out in one form or another. Either it's going to come out in the form of your interaction with a family member, you're going to burst out, or it's going to come out in the form of destroying the energy channels within our system, because it is corrosionous, right? It's like a corrosion material. It's going to create ulcer. And in some cases, a lot of people go through ulcer because life is very stressful. So what it is doing is starting to destroy the bodily phenomena, the physical body itself. And then, of course, there are a lot of damages that are happening in the mind and feelings as well. So that's how we react. That's a normal way of doing it. Does it sound more real? It is what is happening. What do you guys think?
Yeah, Swamiji, that totally happens. It builds up and builds up and builds up, and it's like a pressure cooker. What Jen was saying earlier, as we start becoming a little bit more aware, we can even start we can feel it building up, and anticipate that there will be a burst in some way, and you're right, it is corrosive, and it can oftentimes stress from the workplace or work or other areas can come into our homes and impact our relationships. And I think I shared with you too, there's a lot of those because it's not polite or it's not politically correct or it's not appropriate to say certain things. But my husband used to catch me all the time. I think I'm getting a little bit better. I would say the right thing, but it wasn't what I was saying. It was the energy behind it and how I was saying things. That it was trying to, stress was trying to release, but again in an inappropriate way because there was just too much energy to control.
Yeah.
So definitely feel it, and this makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, and actually you bring up a really good point that I want to talk a little bit about it, and then I might ask you a question just because you are a medical professional that will help people. But let me talk with the first point is many times we're using the right words to say to people, but the energy behind those right words is something we really want to say. So, for example, I want to say, please sit down, but really I'm so angry that I really want to say, I actually want to make you sit down because I'm angry or something, you're not behaving the way you're behaving. I say, please sit down, right? That energy behind it is something which is informing more about our inside play that is happening as opposed to the words. Now, here's the deal. In the legal world, the words are important. You are judged by what you said. Not necessarily they can go and make an interpretation in a court about the tone in which we say. They can make some inference, but you cannot be really punished, at least to my extent of knowledge, about how you did. So that's the extent which limitation is there on the outside world. But human being is super intelligent. The human being is not somebody who can be fooled just because the words were right, but the energy behind those words were not the right ones. They will feel it. They're very sensitive. Human being is very sensitive and super, intelligent in that way. So in our relationship, many times we say that I said this. Why do you make anything wrong about that statement? There's nothing wrong in the statement. And you're right. There is nothing wrong about those words, but it is not about the words. What is the energy behind the words? And they see it, they understand, and they feel it. And therefore, we all react to the energy and not just the words as well. So, no, absolutely right. So I'm going to ask you, into something, and we're just having a normal chat. So, I talked about the stress, how it could be corrosive, and you kind of touched on that as well. And you're a medical professional. So would you mind to just say a little bit more on medical language that I'm incapable of sharing because I'm not a medical person, as to how stress physically creates problem for us?
Sure, Swamiji. Actually, so stress will release cortisol into our system. It's known as the stress hormone, actually. And so anytime we feel fear or we feel danger, whether it's or anxiety, so fear is actually an emotion for something that's perceived real. Anxiety is a perceived threat that's coming. And so all of these things that you've been talking about, things that happen externally that we end up internalizing, do become stressors, and then they trigger the hormone cortisol. And cortisol in and of itself it's a hormone that has a role in our physiologic life. For example, when we're waking up in the morning, and hours before we wake up, our body releases a little bit of cortisol into our system to help us wake up and face the day. However, we tend to, in the modern world, live in just a bath of cortisol all day long because of things that we've been talking about. And what that in turn does is it slows down some of the physiologic processes and actually accelerates the degenerative processes. So, for example, just our ability to metabolize food appropriately, our ability to so it also is there's negative feedback loops and positive feedback loops, and the more cortisol you have in your system, the further it potentiates more cortisol, and it can release adrenaline or epinephrine in our system, physiologic epinephrine or adrenaline, and those kinds of things make us more hyper-excitable and speed up our heart rate, and all of those things, as I'm sure you can appreciate, having that constantly elevated heart rate, having that constantly elevated blood pressure, those, are damaging to our bodies and our physical structure in general. Those lead to other problems, right? You may have increased headaches, you may have body aches because there are all these little hormonal cascades that happen. So, in a nutshell, this stress of the outside world, we not only internalize it mentally, but that we mentally then trigger physiologic and pathologic things to happen in the body with the stress hormone cortisol. And actually, it's very interesting because since you did ask this question, one of our friends, Malpiti, sent me a study and said that I might be interested in it, and it was actually a study that was conducted in India and looking at Osho's dynamic meditation and the effects on cortisol levels. And whereas we couldn't say it's a huge peer-reviewed, double-blinded study, and I know Jan's a medical professional as well, that although we couldn't say that about that study, the study did show at least preliminary findings and some qualitative evidence that in using some of these techniques we can actually lower our cortisol levels. So cortisol is definitely the major kingpin in the body. And if there's any hormone that we, in our psyches of control and control issues that we have, the one that we really want to pay attention to is our cortisol.
Wow, that's a very informative, thing that you shared, because of course I was not aware how cortisol is so important, how it actually governs the physiology of the body as well as the mind. And you're right, there was a study that Mapriti was referring to. I saw that yesterday because she sent me the note as well. But let me explain the difference here, because this is the right context to explain different layers that we need to understand. So first layer we are talking about is the body layer. So the body layer, which has got a physical existence that we can all see. We can talk about cortisol hormone. We can talk about things that are visible. That's something we can see. There is an impact there, and the study was about Osho dynamic meditation really helping us to manage that. And of course, that was not a very widespread study, or it wasn't probably to the extent that U.S. universities were endorsed to that. But certainly, if they did, I'm 100% sure that they will find evidence that it is helping in terms of reducing the stress, because that's the experience of thousands and thousands and millions of people that have done the meditation. But that's just only the first layer, and that is just the beginning. The second thing is about the issues and challenges that happens in mind. And that is more subtle compared to the body. Body can be seen. We know that mind exists because we think, and we know the thinking is from the mind. So it is a lot more subtler, but even then we know it exists. And when we are stressful continuously, then our mind has always reactions from the past. So whether the incident has happened, a day earlier, a couple of hours earlier, or even many years earlier, sometime those reactions start to trigger. If you just go in a memory lane, you will see that just because just when you remember a person's face or name that has hurt you in the past, immediately those reactions that have happened many years earlier, that time comes up to the surface. What happened? This didn't happen right now. It is not something that you interact with the person a couple of days ago, a couple of hours ago. It happened a decade ago probably, and yet there is a reaction. And the stress that was pushed down in the unconscious mind just came to the surface. So there is an impact there that will continue to drive our feelings and moods and thoughts and all other aspects of physiology. And there is an impact in terms of similarly with the feelings and heart that we just talked about. Feeling of anger gets revoked. Again, when we think about an incident, a person that puts us down in a situation that we didn't like, should not have done that. So meditation isn't solving just the physical part of it. Physical part of it is the very, very small part of it, but that is more of a reaction as opposed to the cause. So meditation goes into the cause, not to the reaction. The cause of the stress is our expectation of something should not have happened or should happen against what is happening, and that is the friction that is causing all the stress for us. And what meditation does is that it gives us the skills to be able to go beyond the mind. And if there is no mind, then there is no duality. There's nothing to fight against. You and what is happening in the sense of an existence are the one. There is no difference. That is what meditation is taking us to. But that is a bit of a long journey. In a short format, what we need to understand is that meditation also gives something that we can use practically day in, day out. And that was one of the bullet points that we had set as an objective that we want to chat here. Let's talk about that, which is catharsis. So, like we were talking about the energy phenomena, when there is a friction between what has happened and what should not have happened, there's anger, frustration, stress, all of that. What if instead of suppressing that, or instead of reacting on the other person where we have more power and authority, we had the ability to let that energy go out in a non-destructive way. So it is not hurting us, it is not hurting another person, it is hurting nobody, and it is all safely disposed. It's like your garbage in a house. You don't want garbage to be in a bedroom because it's going to stink. Why would you want it? And that's what we do when we actually suck up and suppress all the stress. It is like you taking the garbage and putting in your bedroom. Not a good idea, but we do that. Or you take the garbage can and dump it on somebody you don't like. So it's a reaction. So you take the garbage and put it on somebody's head. Well, not nice at all. And not only not nice that you did to the person, but also this person is also a live human being. So he's going to now react, and he's going to fight back, and he's going to find some garbage, and he's going to put it on you. And that is the law of karma. When we say law of karma, this is what it means. You're propagating an energy to continue to have a seed form so it can generate the next level of energy phenomena. That's what is karma. There's no big deal. This is a science. So what if we find a way that is not either reaction or suppression? Well, yes, there is a way, and that's what is called catharsis. Catharsis really means that you are letting that energy out in a safe manner. Dynamic meditation is really having cathartic angle where you are doing a gibberish type of method where first step you breathe chaotically, so you let your unconscious mind to rise and get to the conscious level, because then it can be dispelled, it can be thrown out, all the garbage that you have suppressed. In the second stage, you really give support to the garbage of the mind to be out without putting it on someone or suppressing again. So you really let that inaction to happen, the enacting to happen, whether you feel like crying, you feel angry, you feel jealous, whatever is coming out from inside you, the more you are capable to let it out with no condition attached, no strings attached, you let it out. Of course, everything is happening closed eyes, inside room, you're not hurting anybody. The more lighter you are going to feel, because the energy that was suppressed, think about this way again, the garbage that you have put in your bedroom, you are taking the garbage and throwing it out where the garbage should be thrown. Neither you're hurting anybody and you're cleaning yourself. That's what is catharsis all about. And we're going to talk in a minute or two, because we're going to spend another 13 more minutes, where we're going to talk about some practical tips to do this, because you can't really do this 1 hour meditation inside your office working day when you got pissed off with your boss or colleague. You can't spend 1 hour to do this meditation. So there got to be some more practical ways to bring it down to a couple of minutes, couple of things that you can do very easily in a non-visible way to others as well, so you can take care of yourself. But let me pause there before I go into that couple of tips. Does this catharsis really make sense? Has it opened a new understanding, or are there any questions or comments people want to share here?
Hi, can I say that I am so enjoying this conversation, and I just feel very appreciative of it. And one thing about the catharsis and that release of energy, it's so powerful. And I know this could be a whole other subject topic, but I feel like there have been times where I've done dynamic every day for weeks straight, and what comes out is amazing, and I feel so grounded. And then there's times where I don't do it. It's almost like that it comes back, so I don't know. I'm looking forward to your little tips of how to manage it more day to day. But do you have any thoughts on that energy coming back, feeling getting somewhere, feeling oh wow, this is different, and then having it kind of come back, repeating those old patterns or whatever. So.
No, it's a very, very practical question. And to understand this, let's just understand a little bit about how is mind structured. So we have a better appreciation of the challenge that you're talking about. So the way mind is created by whoever has created, called existence, called it God, call it divinity, doesn't matter. The mind has two compartments in a gross sense, in a bigger, broad brush statement way. First part is the conscious part. So the conscious part is what we use all the time. If I'm speaking right now, then in a non-meditative language, I would say I'm using my conscious mind. Now, I'm using my conscious mind less right now, specifically because when I am sharing these things, I'm sharing them in a different manner. I am letting some energy from within me get expressed. I'm not using the mind in traditional sense. But 99.9% of the time, we are simply using our mind, conscious mind, which has rational, which has logic, which has all the common sense that we talk about. You should drive on the right side of the road. When you look at somebody passing by, social norms says you smile. Whatever all that is, it's all about conscious mind. Then there's another section of the mind, which is the unconscious mind. And that unconscious mind is actually 9 times bigger than the conscious mind. So that unconscious mind is way more powerful than the conscious mind. And what does that unconscious mind really have? Well, all the garbage that we just talked about, that you and I take from outside and put the garbage inside a bedroom, and think about, you have a 7-story house, or rather let's just call it a 10-story house, and you're living on the 10th story, 10th floor, and all 9 floors below you, we have filled it with filth and garbage that we have collected from If you believe in past life, then all past life we have accumulated all of them and packed them, and as if this is really a treasure. Or if you don't believe, it's okay. Since childhood, we have learned a lot of things to suppress, and all of the suppressions are in all the 9 floors. Imagine this. You are living in that apartment and house, whatever it is, 10th floor, and you only live in the 10th floor. You never gone to the 9 floors below, but they all has stinking all those garbage that we have stuck there. Now, when you are doing dynamic, what you're doing is you are in a visual way. If you think about it, you are accessing some of those garbage through a staircase. You're going down and taking some of the garbage and throwing them out in a safe manner, in a where it can be disposed. That's what you're doing. Okay, that's great. But then your point is, then you feel a little bit clean, you feel light, you feel energetic, all that is good. But then this haunts back again when you stop dynamic. So what is really happening? So think about it this way. The unconscious mind is something that controls us without asking our permission. So when you get angry, the unconscious mind isn't saying, hey Jen, this is a situation that I should get angry. Should I get angry? No, it doesn't. It does not take our permission. It comes on its own accord. So think about this way. There is a valve that seals the pathway from the 10th floor to the 9th floor to all other floors. That is usually sealed. That is not open. And therefore, you're not always smelling the stink that comes out of those garbage. But when it does come, you are angry, you're frustrated, it actually comes on its own accord. When you do dynamic, you are actually trying actively to clean some space just immediately beneath your conscious mind, which is the 9th floor in this case, and that just get cleaned a little bit. So during the day, those 7 days that you talk about, even if there is an unconscious mind kicking in, you still have a little bit more awareness in your conscious mind, and it is not superly overcoming you, succumbing you completely because you've done some cleaning. But this unconscious mind is too big. So when you don't do this dynamic meditation, you don't do any catharsis actively, this is going to grow as well, and it's got a dividend interest. So the ninth story, there's an investment in which we have made. The feelings that you have had against somebody in the past, that somebody's done ill to you, they have an investment too. And you really want to bash the guy, you really want to do some destruction to the guy that you have feeling. And those feelings that have been put inside the unconscious mind are also growing. So that will come back, and it is huge. So there is no way for us to conquer that in a 7-day meditation. Now the question is, can they be conquered? Of course they can be conquered. If they were not possible to conquer, nobody would have become Jesus Christ. Nobody would have become Buddha. Nobody would have become Krishna. Nobody would have become Osho. All enlightened people, what they have done is they have conquered this entire space of unconscious mind that we have, and there's beyond to that as well, but entire unconscious mind has been completely cleaned, just to set the basic level of understanding about who is a Buddha. So it is possible. It is much bigger phenomena. It does take a journey. It is not something that can happen in 7 days, but certainly you can see the taste of the fragrance that when you do those meditation, it takes you to a different space of elevation where you feel the energy is very light.
Thank you for that.
Yeah. And I know we're probably going to run out of time, so 5 minutes remaining. I do want to pass on some tips that are practical in nature. And this is the first time we're doing it, so we didn't have a time limit that we thought, but probably in an hour and maybe another 5 minutes, the max should be a good time, so we're not holding people for long. So practically, how can we apply this idea of catharsis in our day-to-day life? And that too, not making it very evident to people and work environment around us. So I'm reminded of an incident that we talked about, my India with you, and we do this all the time. I do myself, but because I got reminded of that, I will use that. we were chatting about stress, and there might have been anger therapy group work that we were doing. And we talked about how all of us get stressed. And your example was you getting stressed because something didn't happen according to your understanding. It should not happen the way it happened. And we talked about how about you taking your feast under the table. You are in a meeting and somebody is saying something and you obviously don't like it because the person hasn't done what should have done, and you're getting angry and frustrated, and so you don't want to have it visible signs there. You don't want to react immediately with the energy that has been already accumulating inside. But how about letting that energy out in a safe manner? And that is to clench the fist under the table and let that energy of frustration go by. And that is one particular way you can let the energy go out. And once you let the energy go out, that energy is no longer going to drive you because it's not there in your body and mind anymore. When you suppress it, it has power because it's going to come back. When you're not suppressing, you're letting it go. Where is the energy to start with to make you frustrated? And if the energy is gone, then you will be back in the conscious mind, in a sane mind, and you will do in your daily life what is supposed to be done, and you control what you need to control in the behavior of people. You give them guidance, you give them coaching, whatever it is, but it is not going to come from a space of anger and frustration, because it's definitely going to create more karma in your life. So that's one tip. I'm going to ask Mindy to react to anything she would like to, if she, and then probably we'll talk similar angles, couple more things. Mindy, do you want to share anything?
Yes, Swamiji, that's a very effective technique. And then I've also found just focusing on my breath in that situation as well. Yeah. It just kind of brings me outside of my head.
Yeah.
And into the real moment.
Yeah, that's another quick practical way. Just be aware of the breath. And this is the whole meditation of Vipassana that Buddha gave us 2,500 years ago. Now, Vipassana, probably another time when we have more time to chat about what Vipassana meditation is about and how it works. But in a very simple essence, Vipassana is watching the breath, incoming and outgoing, without trying to control it, without making it run faster, start and slower, no control whatsoever on it. And what Mindy is saying is that when you watch that breath, and this is a little bit more deeper phenomena than the previous one I was saying. Previous phenomena technique that I said, that is really your catharsis. What Mindy is talking about, it is meditation. Now you are becoming a witness to your energy. Your energy is there. You're not fighting. You're not saying anger don't be there, frustration don't be there. All you're saying is that it is there, and I also am there in a conscious way, witnessing it as if that is happening to a third party. And that is what you're doing when you are simply witnessing or watching your breath coming in, coming out. So that's much more deeper phenomena. It is meditation, and it is some simple as well. If you're able to just watch your breath for 5 minutes, that's going to cool you down so easily that you won't even believe. And let me tell you some very, very practical, you might laugh, but I'll tell you very, very practical things that I have done. Whenever I've had a very stressful situation, and I know I cannot handle that right now in the time, and I don't want to suppress it either, I would go to a bathroom and I would sit there, and for 5-7 minutes I would do some kind of catharsis, some kind of breathing exercise, and within 5 to 7 minutes I come out in a very different energy, and that energy is gone. Now you might find it very something that to laugh about, but it is very practical. Like, you can always get yourself a private space in a restroom. Nobody is going to bother you. And it is possible. It is everywhere. It is accessible. In office, it's always there. You can always take 5 minutes of time. So I know it's, I'm saying a lighter vein, but very practical. You can use this as one of the tips to get back to your normal energy. Or another one would be, if you're drinking coffee, just go for a coffee drink, but then drink it differently. Don't drink it the way normally you do. As you drink the coffee, Be aware of the temperature of the coffee. Be aware of the coffee coming from the mug, going to your mouth. Feel the taste. Be aware of every movement of the liquid going into your body, how your body is feeling, how his mouth is feeling, how your tongue is feeling, what is the taste. Be with it 100%. Anywhere, any situation, if we can be 100%, then all the past has a discontinuity to it. Immediately for that moment, you are in here and now. And whenever you are in here and now, the past and future ceases to exist. And because past and future cease to exist, that becomes a landmark for that moment for you to live the next moments that are upcoming in a fresh way. And the past will not bother you, at least for the time being that you deepen that awareness and it lasts for you. So that's another practical tips. And there are many such other tips we can talk about. We can go on and on, but today, what I like to do is I like to just close this off today with asking each of the panel members to just share anything else they want to share as a closing remark, and then I'll do a final closing remark, and we'll just close this discussion today. So anybody wants to go first? It doesn't matter what order it is. Any closing remarks?
This is very enlightening, Swamiji. I love the tips. I think I'm going to try all of them. Probably today. Good.
Okay, yeah, that's great.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm going to have my smoothie after this meeting.
Enjoy the smoothie, totally. Yeah.
Yes. And thank you so much for all the other examples. Jen's question was amazing. That's one of my questions too. So thank you for answering that.
Yeah. Thank you, Masamasadi.
I like that part. Talk about it's like garbage. Take to your bedroom and or your dump bag to others. Oh, it's so visualizing, like a picture. I think it'll forever stick in my head. I'm thinking of, oh, here comes the garbage. Oh, it's so nice. Like, you listen to that and then you think about how disgusting if you did that back to others.
Yeah.
They throw the garbage to you, right?
Yeah.
Oh my God, I love this.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for sharing that. Yes, we do this so unconsciously that we don't know what we're doing.
I just want to say, go ahead. Go, Wendy.
Okay. So, like Jen said, I enjoyed this conversation thoroughly. I think it was definitely, again, reminded us of some of the really relatively simple things that we can do to relieve some of that stress and put some of that cortisol back in place. So, it was a great conversation. I would love to have another session just focused on catharsis and, again, Vipassana, since those two things came up. And the imagery you use, Swamiji, I agree. With Annie, oh my gosh, it's absolutely right. I would say I have garbage on 9 floors. And it's not only there, it's putrefying. And it stinks. And sometimes I catch a whiff of it. So I love it. Thank you.
No, thank you. And let me come back to the summary. What you said, you actually said the future already. So let Jen go first.
Yes, again, I am feeling really grateful for this platform because I've listened in on the Clubhouse, but I've never actually really participated. So I'm appreciating this opportunity in this new kind of unique medium, and everything was really resonating. I really appreciated Indy's medical perspective and the visual of the garbage and the house. I drew a little picture sitting here, and it's been really wonderful, and I just want to thank everybody for their time.
Yeah, it looks like that visual is gonna stick in our memory quite a bit now. I really like that visual. No, thank you, Jen, as well. Thank you, everybody here that participated in just a lively, unscripted conversation that we had here. Totally spontaneous. We obviously had a couple of bullet points to anchor, but that's about it. There was nothing else that we had prepared per se. In fact, most of us came from a meditation event that just happened with Swami Chaitanya Kirti was doing, conducting for us Maitri Vav, the friendliness. And so we just came here. Of course, no preparations. I do want to touch on what Mindy said about future events. This is how it works. We just chat about things, and something gets created for future. So yeah, maybe we'll dive and other times in catharsis, talk a little bit more about vipassana and how the energy unfolds. But at least there are two things that you have pointed out that could be in our next chat. I do want to also say, Mindy, thank you for sharing your medical knowledge. Of course, I don't have that, and this is the beauty of working together in a group, that you bring some expertise that are science related, medical science related, and you make it so relevant about stress, connection with cortisol hormone and how it works. So I'm 100% sure that has actually given more logical explanation that other people would appreciate. So thank you very much for sharing that. And with that, I'm going to say thank you very much, everyone. We enjoyed this 1 hour conversation, a little bit more than 1 hour probably. And next time it happens, we'll post an event, and we will have this joy of just sharing. That's all it is about. So thank you very much. Have a good afternoon. Take care.